Hey there! Have you ever wondered how a Snickers bar gets so super yummy? I mean, it's got that fluffy nougat, all soft and chewy like a marshmallow hug, and then that gooey caramel that sticks to your teeth in the best way. Plus, those crunchy peanuts that go crack when you chomp down. And oh, that creamy chocolate that's just perfect, smooth and melty. Today, I'm taking you inside the giant factory where they make Snickers, step by step, layer by tasty layer. It's like a candy adventure waiting to happen. Way back in 1930, a guy named Frank Mars, he was a total candy genius, whipped up this treat and named it after his favorite horse. Can you believe it? A horse called Snickers. I wonder if the horse liked candy too. Maybe it munched on oats instead. Now, Snickers is the most popular candy bar in the whole wide world. Everybody loves it. We're going to see how they make millions, millions and millions of these bars to stop hungry tummies everywhere you go, from your town to faraway places. It's going to be so much fun to peek inside this big candy-making world. Oh, and if you think this is cool, give it a big thumbs up with your finger and hit that subscribe button down there so we can check out more neat stuff together later. Ready to see the Snickers secrets? Let's jump right in and get started. Let's step into the Snickers world. Picture a giant building in Waco, Texas. It's called the Master Foods Factory, and it's like the Snickers boss of the whole U.S. This one place makes 65% of all the Snickers bars you see in stores around the country, like way more than half. That's a huge pile of candy, millions and millions and millions of bars stacked up high. The other 35% come from different factories sprinkled all over the place, so no matter where you live, maybe by the beach or up in the mountains, there's always a Snickers nearby waiting for you to grab it. Pretty awesome, huh? Inside this Texas factory, it's like a candy wonderland come to life. Machines are buzzing like bees, whirring like little helicopters, and clanking like a toy robot parade, and workers are running around in cool white coats and hairnets, making sure everything's just perfect. Every single day, they whip up enough Snickers to fill up candy aisles from coast to coast, like from California all the way to New York. It's a busy, happy place, full of action. And Snickers isn't just any old candy you'd find in a bowl. It's a big deal, like a candy superstar. They make little fun-size ones you get at Halloween, those tiny ones you trade with your friends, giant king-size ones for when you're super-duper hungry after playing outside, and even special ones with almonds or peanut butter inside. Oh, and have you tried Snickers ice cream? It's so cold and yummy, like a frozen Snickers hug on a hot day. This candy's been making people smile for almost 100 years, way longer than you or I have been around, ever since Frank Mars started it back in 1930. Now it's like the coolest candy ever. Everyone knows Snickers, from kids to grown-ups. Imagine walking in there. Conveyor belts zooming super fast like a roller coaster, big pots mixing stuff with giant spoons, and the air smelling like chocolate and peanuts all mixed. It's a giant candy party going on all day long. They've got one big job, making every Snickers bar just right, every single time, so when you bite into one, it's always perfect. How do they do it with all those machines and people working together? Let's find out, step by step. It's going to be a blast to see it all happen. Here's where the Snickers magic kicks off, with the chocolate. In the factory, they make this creamy, dreamy milk chocolate that's so smooth, it's like a chocolate blanket. It all starts with cocoa beans, little brown seeds that come from faraway places like Africa or South America, where they grow on trees in hot, sunny jungles. These beans are super special, and they travel a long, long way across oceans and mountains just to be in your Snickers bar. First, a big machine cracks off the hard shells, like popcorn, and out come the nibs, the tasty insides that look like little chocolate treasures. Those nibs get dumped into a giant oven to roast, and it's super hot in there, way hotter than your oven at home. It smells like chocolate heaven, like when you open a candy bar, but 100 times bigger and better. After roasting, they're all toasty and warm, ready to turn into something yummy. Then they go into a huge mill, a machine with big spinning wheels that grinds them up into a thick, gooey paste. It's like chocolate mud, all squishy and brown. They mix in sugar to make it sweet, lots of sugar, scoop after scoop, and milk powder to make it creamy. Like mixing a big cake batter. That paste moves to a refiner next, a fancy machine that spins and squishes it super fast until it's a superfine cocoa powder. Imagine a powdery chocolate cloud floating around. From there, it's off to a giant mixer called a conch. Such a funny name, right? This thing's got big arms that churn the powder round and round while they add cocoa butter. That's the stuff that makes it silky and soft, like butter but chocolatey. They also toss in something called lecithin. It's a helper that keeps everything smooth and stuck together so it doesn't clump up. Now it's a shiny liquid chocolate, all melty and perfect, flowing like a river. The last step is tempering, and it's so cool, like a science trick. They heat it up high, super hot, then cool it down just right, so the chocolate gets hard and shiny when it sets. This trick makes Snickers chocolate special. It stays solid in your hand, even on a warm day, but melts in your mouth when you bite it. How neat is that? Oh, and those cocoa beans? The factory checks every single one to make sure they're the best. Only the top beans get to be Snickers chocolate. Picture giant vats of chocolate swirling around, like a chocolate river flowing through the factory, all bubbly and brown. It takes a bunch of steps. Roasting those nibs, grinding them up, mixing in sugar and milk, refining it into powder, conching it with cocoa butter, and tempering it just so. But it's all worth it for that yummy coating that covers the Snickers. Imagine standing there, watching that liquid chocolate pour out, all ready to hug the peanuts and nougat later. It's the first big piece of the Snickers puzzle. The chocolate's ready now. Let's see what's next in this candy story. Now we're at the peanut part. Snickers needs that crunch to be Snickers. In the factory, they start with these giant bags of peanuts, 2,000 pounds each. That's heavier than a car, like heavier than your family's minivan. Imagine a huge sack of peanuts, taller than you, just waiting to be opened up and turned into candy. They tip it over into a big funnel called a hopper, and the peanuts slide down, tumbling onto a conveyor belt like a peanut waterfall. This belt shakes side to side, so every peanut gets spread out nice and even, no piling up allowed. Then they roll into a monster oven, 150 feet long. It's like a peanut tunnel, all hot and steamy at 350 degrees, way hotter than a summer day. They roast in there for 30 whole minutes, tumbling around like they're on a roller coaster, and it smells so good, like peanut butter times a zillion, filling up the whole factory. When they come out, they're golden and toasty, bursting with a nutty flavor that makes your mouth water. That's what makes Snickers so crunchy and awesome, those roasted peanuts. Oh, and get this factory uses peanuts from about 21 acres every day. That's like 16 football fields full of peanut plants. Imagine running across all those fields picking peanuts. Crazy big, right? After roasting, the peanuts spill onto another belt, and a worker spreads them out with their hands, like playing with a big peanut sandbox, so they don't clump together in a big peanut blob. Then they roll through a spinning drum, round and round and round, and it sprays a tiny mist of salt, like a salty sprinkle party. Just a little bit to make them extra tasty. Not too much, just perfect. Did you know peanuts aren't really nuts? They're legumes like beans or peas you might eat at dinner, but we call them nuts because they're so nutty and crunchy. Funny, huh? The factory makes sure every peanut is perfect, crisp and yummy, because that crunch is a big deal in Snickers, like the star of the show. Picture this: hot peanuts bouncing along the belt, all golden and ready to join the candy party. It's like they're getting a spa day, roast in the oven, spread out to cool, salt sprinkle for flavor. They've got to be just right for the next step. No soggy peanuts allowed. Imagine sniffing that peanut smell all day long. I'd be so hungry, I'd want to eat the air. Could you roast peanuts without munching a handful? I'd be sneaking some for sure. The peanuts are crunchy and set. What's coming up next in the Snickers adventure? Caramel time. Let's check it out. Time for the caramel, that gooey, sticky stuff that makes Snickers so fun to eat. In the factory, they've got this giant pot, like 800 pounds giant. It's so big you could climb inside. Well, maybe not. It's hot. They pour in corn syrup, sweet and sticky, then a big scoop of butter, creamy and rich, some condensed milk to make it smooth, a pile of sugar to make it super sweet, and a tiny pinch of salt for a little zing. It's like making caramel at home on the stove, but way, way, way bigger, enough for tons and tons of Snickers bars. They mix it all up like a witch's brew and heat it to 250 degrees. It starts bubbling like a little volcano, turning all golden and shiny like melted gold. Oh man, it smells so sweet and warm. You'd want to dive in with a giant spoon. They cook it in a special kettle that sucks out the air so it doesn't burn and turn all black and yucky. That takes 20 minutes, and they watch it super close, like hawks staring at their dinner. Too hot, and it's ruined, crisp and bitter. Too cool, and it's not sticky enough, just a runny mess. Tricky stuff to get perfect. Near the end, they splash in some vanilla. That's the yummy secret taste that makes you gum. And a thing called lecithin to keep it smooth as silk, like a caramel river. Then they cool it down a little so it's just right. Not too runny like water, not too hard like a rock. It's gotta stick to those peanuts perfectly, holding them in a gooey hug. Oh, and caramel's super old. People have been cooking sugar like this for ages and ages, way before your grandma was born. Snickers just made it famous by putting it in a candy bar everyone loves. Imagine stirring this huge vat of golden goo. It's like a caramel soup or a sticky treasure chest. The factory makes so much every day, piles and piles of it, all for that stretchy layer that pulls when you bite. It takes about 45 minutes total, and every minute matters. Stirring, heating, watching, cooling. Could you stir that giant pot without sneaking a lick? I'd be dipping my finger in. Oops. Picture it bubbling and swirling, all golden and ready to join the peanuts and nougat. Imagine the workers standing there, sniffing that sweet smell all day. I bet they dream of caramel at night. The caramel's set, nice and gooey and perfect. Next up, the nougat. Let's see how they whip that up. Let's whip up the nougat, that chewy, fluffy middle in every Snicker that makes it so fun to chew. In the factory, they start with a big pot, not as big as the caramel one, but still huge, and pour in corn syrup, all sticky and sweet, a bunch of sugar to make it super tasty, a sprinkle of salt for a little kick, and some water to mix it up. They heat it up to 250 degrees, super hot, like a summer sidewalk, until it's a sticky, sweet syrup that looks like melted candy glue. It's all shiny and clear. Then comes the best part. They mix that hot syrup with fluffy egg whites. Those egg whites are whipped up with a big mixer until they're light and airy, like a big white cloud you could bounce on. When the syrup pours in, splash, it turns into this creamy, fluffy blob, like a candy pillow. It's like magic happening right there. They stir it with giant machines, round and round, and cook it more, up to 270 degrees, so it's chewy but not too soft. Too mushy, and it'd fall apart in your mouth like wet cotton candy. Too hard, and it'd be like biting a brick. They've got to get it just right, like Goldilocks picking the perfect porridge. Oh, and the air matters. If it's too wet outside, like on a rainy day, the nougat gets soggy and sticky, so they might crank the heat up to fix it. Cool science stuff, like a weather dance for candy. Then they add fresh peanut butter, yep, that nutty yumminess you love, and mix it all together in a big screw mixer that spins round and round like a carnival ride. Imagine that fluffy goo getting all peanutty and delicious. After mixing, it rides a high-up conveyor belt, zoom, up in the air, to cool off a bit. It's still warm, about 195 degrees, but ready to roll out into a big sheet. Picture this stretchy, peanutty dough spreading out. It's the chewy heart of Snickers, the part that makes every bite so good. Every Snickers needs that perfect fluff to balance the crunch and goo. Could you whip that up without eating it all? I'd sneak a taste. It looks too good. Imagine standing there, watching that fluffy stuff stretch out like a big candy blanket, all ready to team up with the other layers. The workers make it look so easy, but it's a big job to get that chew just right. The nougat's ready. Time to layer it up with the caramel and peanuts. Now it's time to stack those yummy layers together. The fluffy nougat comes sliding down from the conveyor belt. It's been riding high up there and hits these giant rollers that are ice cold at 24 degrees. That's chilly. They squish it flat into a big, wide sheet, like rolling out cookie dough with a rolling pin, but way bigger, like a dough sheet for a giant cookie. Then the gooey caramel and crunchy peanuts drop on top from another cold roller. It's like building a candy sandwich, layer by layer. The caramel's still warm and sticky, like melted candy glue, so it grabs those peanuts and holds them tight in a big, gooey hug. Imagine those peanuts sticking right in there, crunch. Next, a big pressing roller comes along and pushes it all together into one perfect slab. Not too thick, not too thin, just right, like the perfect stack of pancakes. Picture a peanut caramel nougat hug, all cozy and tasty, with the sweet nougat on the bottom, the sticky caramel in the middle, and the crunchy peanuts poking out on top. After that, it zips into a chilly tunnel, 65 degrees, like a cool fall day, to cool off fast. That makes it hard enough to cut later, and it mixes the flavors together. Sweet nougat, salty peanuts, gooey caramel, all in one big happy bite. It's like the factory's mixing a perfect snack just for you. Picture a long, shiny slab zooming through that tunnel, all smooth and ready to turn into Snickers bars. The workers make it look so easy, but it takes skill to line it all up. Nougat flat, caramel gooey, peanuts crunchy, all pressed together without falling apart. Could you stack it that fast without sneaking a piece? I'd probably eat half of it. Yum! Imagine watching that slab roll by, all those layers stuck together like best friends. It's the moment Snickers starts looking like Snickers, not just a pile of stuff, but a real candy bar. The layers are stuck tight. Time to cut them up into pieces. Let's slice and coat those bars. Here's where they really turn into Snickers. The big Snickers slab rolls into a slitter machine with 19 spinning blades, like a ninja chopping super fast. It cuts that slab into 38 long strips, quick as a flash. Blink and you'd miss it. Then sharp guillotine blades come down and slice them the other way into perfect 4.5-inch bars. They're starting to look like the Snickers you know, little rectangles of yum. Next, it's chocolate time, the best part. The bars dip into a shallow pool of that creamy milk chocolate we made earlier, coating the bottom like a chocolate puddle. Then they roll under a big chocolate shower that pours all over them, covering the top and sides too. It's like a chocolate waterfall raining down, making them all shiny and brown. While it's still soft and gooey, they shake on vibrating grates to smooth it out and get rid of any tiny air bubbles hiding inside. Then a roller adds a fancy swirl on top, like a little chocolate dance. Check for that swirl next time you unwrap a Snickers. It's their secret mark, like a candy signature. Picture those bars all shiny and chocolatey, rolling along, ready to eat right then and there. Could you dip them without licking your fingers? I'd be a total mess, chocolate everywhere. Imagine standing there, watching that chocolate pour down, covering every inch of those bars. Nougat, caramel, peanuts, all wrapped in that creamy goodness. It's the moment they go from plain layers to real Snickers bars you'd grab off the shelf. They're coated and swirled, time to cool them down and get them ready. Now the Snickers bars get ready to roll out to the world. They slide into a wrapping machine that wraps each one in that shiny Snickers wrapper. It's super fast, like 1,000 bars a minute, faster than you could count. The machine uses heat to seal the edges tight, so they stay fresh and yummy for you, no matter how long they sit on the shelf. Picture a giant roll of plastic turning into perfect little packages, all lined up like soldiers, ready to go. It's so cool to watch, like a candy assembly line on turbo speed. The wrappers are special. They keep the chocolate from melting into a puddle and the peanuts from going all soft and stale. Every bar gets its own little suit to wear. Then they're packed up into boxes and loaded onto big trucks. These bars don't just stay in Texas. Oh no, they travel all over the world to stop hungry tummies everywhere, from your town to places you've never even heard of. Did you know Snickers sells over 15 million bars a day? That's like a mountain of candy, 15 million happy bites every single day. From this factory in Waco, they zoom to stores near you, maybe your favorite gas station, supermarket, or even that little shop down the street. Imagine a truck full of Snickers driving down the road. What a sweet ride that'd be. The workers make sure every bar is wrapped just right, ready for its big trip. Could you wrap that fast without eating one? I'd sneak a bite for sure, maybe two. They're all packed and shipped. Time to wrap up our whole candy story. So, from cocoa beans to your candy aisle, that's how Snickers are made. We saw the chocolate get all creamy and smooth, the peanuts get crunchy and toasty, the caramel gets gooey and sticky, and the nougat gets fluffy and chewy, all wrapped up in a shiny package, ready to eat. Pretty awesome, huh? It's like a big team effort, beans from far away, machines whirring, workers helping, all to make that perfect Snickers bite. What's your favorite kind? Regular with peanuts, peanut butter with that extra nutty kick, or maybe the ice cream one that's cold and melty? Tell me down below. I really want to know what you like best. If you like this tasty trip through the factory, give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down there so we can explore more fun stuff together. Next time, we'll peek at another cool thing. Maybe more candy or something wild like how toys are made. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a blast showing you all these Snickers secrets. See you soon for our next adventure. Bye for now.